Josh, dare I say this, which is, it sounds blasphemous because we know he's a much better coach, but in this aspect, if some of these players don't step up, but we start mentioning Heupel in the same sentence as Butch Jones, only in the sense of how many times did Butch Jones have high-profile recruits and high-profile transfers that never developed and never saw the field?
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there yet because this past season they won 11 games and they blew out LSU and Baton Rouge and they beat Alabama. They just did things that we haven't seen in a long time at Tennessee. So, I mean, at some point, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to continue to succeed. And over the next couple of years, there will be more pressure for the players that Josh Heupel brought in to develop and be those kinds of players too, because the bar has been raised by what they've done the last two seasons, what they did in 2022, especially. Now that Tennessee has won those big games. And think about the Florida situation. The Gators right now don't look like they're in a great spot, and Tennessee beat Florida. And there's almost an expectation that Tennessee goes and wins in Gainesville this season. I don't even know if it's almost. I believe fans are going to say, you better win that game this year because of the spot Florida's in. So that changes the conversation. It never even got there for Butch Jones. He was picked to win the East, but in 2016. But the program, I don't think, was viewed at the same elevation as this program. So the bar has been raised. The expectations will be higher over the next couple of years. But right now, I can't really point to anything to say fear that the program is going to go in the direction of Butch Jones. I think Josh Heupel's history at Oklahoma as a quarterback, his history there as an offensive coordinator, now being the head coach at Tennessee, I think he has a much better understanding of what is required, the expectations, the pressure that comes with this kind of job that I think really affected Butch Jones in a negative way. I'd be surprised if that's what affects Josh Heupel.
Correct or crazy? Dylan Sampson will be the second leading rusher on this football team this fall.
I don't think that's crazy. Could he be top two? I mean, you have injury history with the other guys too. So if Sampson automatically enters a bigger role than we saw last year, and then there is the risk of injury elsewhere, if I had to choose top two or bottom two, let's say that if we're talking about a four-man backfield, I'd choose top two for Dylan Sampson.
Interesting. All right, so we were focused on a return, but is there a freshman? Freshmen, to me, shouldn't be counted on. Sometimes they are, and you should consider that good fortune. But is there a freshman in particular that you look at and because of opportunity and talent, you think would have that a significant impact this fall?
First freshman I would look to would be Cameron Seldon. I wrote about him a few weeks ago. Right after the orange and white game, we talked about him. He just has a ton of talent, and that goes back to the shares being divvied up in the backfield. But Seldon also can be a pass catch option with his history coming out of high school. He is a big running back that has the pass catch ability. Again, pass protection, that could be a factor, but they can line him up in different spots where that wouldn't necessarily be a problem. He looks like a guy that belongs on the field, and I think showed that. As much as we have to be careful about what we say about the orange and white game, Seldon looks the part. So he would stand out. Arion Carter, who I mentioned at linebacker, there's got to be at least one defensive back that should be a factor this fall. I just don't know how to choose which one it is yet. Jordan Matthews has a ton of ability. Ricky Gibson has a lot of ability as a freshman member of the defensive backfield. Christian Conyer kind of looks the part when you see him. Okay, yeah, I can see why some considered him the top prospect in Kentucky and a coveted corner for Tennessee in this class. And Tennessee needs help in the secondary. They had to upgrade from a year ago. I would hesitate just because I know how all coaches operate, and that is trust in veterans. And Tennessee has a lot of veterans who have returned in the secondary. So will a freshman beat out a veteran in August? I don't know that. But over the course of 3 months, if players continue to struggle in the secondary, I would count on at least one of those guys in the secondary getting an option. The other obvious name would be Nico, but your preference would be, if you're a Tennessee fan, that Joe has a big year and Nico is never needed this year, that you get to see him more in mop-up duty and he gets ready to be the starter in 2024. But we can't talk about freshmen with the ability to have a potential impact without mentioning Nico.
I D on our message boards that chance. None of the guys have been here more than 2 years. Heupel has hit home runs left and right so far. So I assume that was pointed towards Caleb Calhoun. And in other words,
Why don't you shut the hell up?
I'm going to work on my dog. Not a new toy. So that was a little Happy Gilmore for you.
Why don't you shut the hell up?
Yeah, that goes for you, Caleb.
Oh my gosh!
A warm
Lord.
glass.
I'm sorry, guys, but we have to ask the question at this point. You're right; it's early, but look, Josh Heupel had. Let's call a spade a spade. He missed on who he thought would be the best starting quarterback when he first took over at Tennessee. He thought Joe Milton was better than Hendon Hooker. I mean, that's a question of talent evaluation right there. So you do have to think.
You suck, you jackass.
Josh knows how much fun I'll have with this. It's like he feels pity for Caleb right now.
Yeah, and by the way, Caleb was right. It was the wrong evaluation for whatever reason, and Joe has a ton of talent. Now he's a few years later. But, Kirby Smart thought JT Daniels was the better option for obvious reasons over Stetson Bennett, and then Stetson Bennett took over and won back-to-back national titles. So everybody misses at some point, and it's how you correct. And they went to Hendon Hooker, stuck with Hendon Hooker, and we know the results there. So both things can be true. I think it's way too early to try to make any kind of or offer any kind of Josh Heupel, Butch Jones comparison, but also recognize that, okay, that the success of 2022 was great, and the excitement around the program is better than it's been in a long time. And Josh Heupel got a big contract, which I think he earned when you look at the market and where it was. But because of all that and because of what Tennessee football is, expectations are going to go up. Again, Josh Heupel recognizes that when he was asked during one of his Big Orange Caravan stops, I think it was, about the higher expectations and all that, he said, we want the noise. I don't think any of that scares him. And I think that helped them last year in big games against Florida and against Alabama. And having Hendon Hooker at quarterback, I think he's comfortable in that environment too. But the big game and the pressure and the attention and all that, I think Josh Heupel's just used to. He won a national championship as a quarterback at a program that has all kinds of attention and pressure and a following. So Butch Jones he was negatively affected by that. And the culture that they tried to keep together after big name recruits came in was problematic for Butch. He wasn't able to manage it well. And I think Josh Heupel will be better at that. Is he going to win a title, an SEC title or a national title? I don't know. With the expanded playoff, I think he's going to have a good chance to get Tennessee into the final 12. So he has a good chance there. But, I don't know if he's going to hit the ultimate goals, but I think he'll give Tennessee a better chance, maybe a much better chance than Butch Jones ended up giving Tennessee.
Yo, what do you
Reminded
think
me
of that?
of
What do you think of that comeback?
Hey now.
well, okay, I do a Butchism that
Does he might know
I
who that
love.
is, or does he might know who that is, or am I too old? Do you know who that is, Josh?
First of all, you're too old, but I didn't catch it.
Hey now.
Can you hear it there? Did you not hear it?
You're gonna have to give me the answer.
Oh, okay, but you can't hear it. This is actually a technical check as well.
Hey now.
Yeah, it's Hank Kingsley from the Larry Sanders Show.
Full transparency, Larry Sanders Show is on my list. I'm well aware of its greatness. I have not watched the Larry Sanders Show. It's on my list that at some point I'll get to after my kids allow me to watch television again.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But some of the behind the scenes of putting a show together will really resonate with you. You will love that show. One of my top. It's probably top 3 along with Seinfeld, and I don't know what the other one would be. But
not to get too far off the tracks, but I know that it was influential for Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm, which are 2 of my favorites. Curb from HBO, like Larry Sanders.
Hey now.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's all right. I wondered if that would be too old. Tell me on the message board if that's pretty good. By the way, Khalifa Keith, he's not on campus yet. He's one of the summer guys. And I think, though, that he could step in if we want to talk about true freshmen, because he's going to play that power running back role. That's a pretty easy position to learn, and maybe the fullback role that Princeton Fant played. So, yeah, I think he might even score a touchdown this year. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, garbage time touchdown would be my guess. We'll see. But when we on my radio show talked about all the running backs in the spring, somebody came in and said, "What about Khalifa Keith?" I always am hesitant to put any kind of pressure on a freshman. Now, when we see so many freshmen come in the spring and then someone comes in the summer, I'm putting little to no expectation on a freshman running back in a more crowded backfield coming in June and getting a real chance to make a big impact unless there are injuries elsewhere. So he could surprise me, but it would be that. I'd be surprised if Khalifa Keith is a big factor in Tennessee's offense this fall.
That's crazy.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Josh. We'll talk to you soon. Hear him.
That's crazy.
I mean, Brian as well.
Very well versed there. Yep.
Yes. Sneaky snake. All right, Josh, have a fantastic day. You can listen to him from noon to 3 on the Sports Animal. We love what he brings to the table in the written word on offthehooksports.com.